immediately one match that we must discuss. There's been two that were the big ones. If you don't know, we've already had Genji Hanwha Life, which is obviously a potential finals rematch. Some people think those might end up being the two best teams of the year. Like, there's a very real interesting discussion we had there. But let's start first with the obvious one, which is Dom's favorite series, which is obviously that DPlus. So it's not even players you actually like fucking think are good, but it's people like Beryl again. So Beryl's doing a Beryl roll and he's fucking beat T1 because that's who Beryl is. You have to understand. He just trips over and does stupid shit like beat T1. So give me some thoughts on this one, because I thought this was hilarious, bro. Like, if people don't know, DPlus right before this with their real lineup was losing to fucking Brion or whatever in that like preseason cup thing. So the idea they then come in and just beat the real T1. That's just classic DPlus. So give me some thoughts on this series, bro.
I have to say, bro, our homie Showmaker is looking refreshed, man. He is looking so refreshed. I thought last year was going to be like just a downtrend of Showmaker because mechanically just wasn't there. He didn't have, just that aura in the game where you just know it's like, oh, Showmaker just got a kill. Ooh, look at him on side. Damn, okay, this game is brewing into something. So it's incredible to see just Showmaker being in good form again. I think mechanically, this roster, the way it's been put together, is just, they are insane with the exception of Beryl, because Beryl's still a silly psychopath. My man goes like 2-8 on enemies and still wins the game.
But here's the thing with him. What they need to do is, I'll give you a quick tangent, right? You know this. You know that famously Koreans have a nickname for Hillesang, and the nickname is the Professor, right? But what's silly is, if you hear that as a Westerner, you don't understand that's sort of fucked up in translation. You're going to think it means he's some like, mastermind like Zhao Hu Mat or like, my God. No, they mean in the sense that like when he does a play, because they don't understand it, if it works, they're like, it must just be like 10D chess or something. They mean like it's like you can't understand what he's doing. Bro, Beryl needs a name like that. His name needs to be like the Mad Professor or the Nutty Professor or something.
I think it already is.
What's mad is, yeah, I know he has something like that. But I mean, the reason why I say it is because I do think sometimes he looks like he's just doing like stupid picks or he's playing in a weird way, but it works more than you would think it would. It does. And so there has to be like a method to the madness, He's not really just an idiot. Like, he's clearly got a different vision of League of Legends, right?
I do think that what I appreciate about both Beryl and Hilly is like they are so decisive. They are the most decisive people on earth, where nothing can stop them from what they want to do. Not even their teammates, not even the elements, not even if there's an earthquake actively happening, they are going to do what they perceive as good. And regardless of the game condition, it's like sometimes you need players like that take initiative, because opportunities are very few in games. It comes across as very ugly sometimes, where people are not in sync with what they are trying to achieve, or maybe the window is just wrong. But I'd rather have that in a lot of cases than just dying slowly. With this down one roster, it's like looking back at what their problems were last year with their support situation with Kellen and Moham. DPlus was a team that could lane well, and then it just always fizzled out. It's like you could never trust their gold leads. You could never trust them to progress the game.
The worst late game macro of any like world's elite team, wasn't it? It was terrible, wasn't it?
And their nickname, like basically, they were the Korean fanatic, and like that was the nickname. It's like they had gold leads, and they just didn't seem to be relevant, and they could only really win games where like the meta aligned perfectly for aiming, when it was like Zeri, Ezreal, Kaiser, and he was super good at it. But now with the changes to the map, with Atakan, everything going faster, and they can like mechanically express themselves with the addition of Beryl, I think it's safe to assume that that it's kind of working. It's working. We can see it real time as well. As everything is streamlined. We see Lucid as a player. Always knew he was mechanically super good, but where he would always falter is in like the in-betweens, in the macro aspects, being in the wrong spot. And now most of the games that we watch with DPlus is just a lot of fighting around the objectives. If there's any argument for Atakan, I do think that Atakan has improved the quality of gameplay in LCK, because the games are very active, which is
boring. Fun. Yeah, true. You don't ever do the handshake slow macro game, right?
Yeah, like fuck that shit, bro. So it's like LCK has benefited from it for sure. I think DPlus, just to come back to the main point, just Showmaker playing super well. The rookie that they brought in, Siwa as well. I don't watch too much LCK CL, but this guy, like in just
he's legit, mate.
100%. Just like in a region where you don't have top laners, where T1 lose their top laner and Keen is out and they need to sign Doran, like the lists down the name, they are just not
Absolutely.
exciting enough. And Siwoo showed different sides to himself. He seems very comfortable on stage. He plays the Scion, he plays the Rumbles and the Kisantas. Usually he plays everything that is relevant. And I think that's, a good sign for the LCK, because DPlus definitely hit the ground running in a very, very good way.
My joke would be, actually, my nickname for DPlus at Worlds last year would be Korean Opera, because they were like, you get a Swiss system win, you get a Swiss system win, not you, FlyQuest, you get a Swiss system win. They were just giving out wins for free, and it didn't matter. The worst thing about their team, if you want to compare it to this T1 game, is it didn't matter if they had a lead at 18 minutes in the game. They're probably going to find a way to either fuck it up or give you a way back in. That's the worst thing of all, is when it's not even that you did like a misplay, you just you're like, do you want a chance? They would just throw you a chance for no reason. And part of the problem was, obviously, it wasn't the same roster as this. Like, I'm with you, by the way. The Siwoo guy is a clear upgrade in top lane and actually looks like a really well-scouted prospect. I sort of see what you mean by that. If you were T1 and you could go back in a time machine now, look, you'd probably actually just not fuck up the Zeus deal. But if you know Zeus is going and it's only Thorin, maybe you'd have gambled on this guy. Maybe this guy could have been the new stud top player that you could build up and show how to play the game. Lucid actually did the classic trend that every pleb thinks that good rookies do, but they don't usually. A lot of rookies do have like an all right first season, then drop off second season, and then they sort of get it. This guy did the dream. He does the step up on the graph. It's just the lines go like this, and he just did this. He was good enough for a rookie. Now he's actually looking like a real prospect. And then the key thing for me is this. This is where Beryl, because like I say, I do think even though he's got a weird mind, he does have a mind for macro concepts, clearly. Like he just understands things about like when to, as you say, take initiative, make a play on the map, do something that might look crazy, but it's actually what you need to do when you're behind or something. This is a different DPlus. And I've always thought, sadly, because of how the playoffs went last year and Worlds, people, if they don't watch LCK in the summer last year, you don't realize how good aiming can be. But his problem is he's not that player that has like the polish of the ruler or the great ADC that can like always carry the game. He sometimes needs, I think, like a little bit of piloting when it's in the later part of the game, because he was always famous even on KT. He could completely carry you a game, or he could be the one guy that just threw the game Jackie Love style randomly at the end of the game, and you just like, what the fuck? Why did he go in there? So I think this is a guy where if you just put an arm on this guy's shoulder, nope, not quite yet, or let him cook. That's all I need from Beryl, because I actually think I'm with you. Showmaker's the one that no one could have expected. Everyone thought, right, he was definitely not as good last year. The fact that Canyon's still dope on Genji, it makes people think, maybe Showmaker's actually the one just living on name value. Like, let's be real, he's in DPlus, he was always in Damwon. Actually, he looks like it could be a bounce back here, I've got to say, because, mate, first game of that series was fucking ridiculous. It was like over like 5 minutes. It felt like it was so quick, that game. Like, T1 put up no resistance at all. At least the game 3 was a little bit more, but fucking hell, mate, that first game was really, I was astonished. Even I'm joking when I think DPlus is going to beat them. I just did that because it was a good odds or whatever. Like, they actually just murked him in game 1.
It was completely one-sided. I put Lucid in the same box as the Tarzan, Kanavi, and of course Canyon pool of junglers, because he is right now a player where you can just trust him with a damn lead.
Yeah.
Like that Nidalee game was fantastic, but there was also like a Lilia game where he played and he just drove the game completely. Like when leads are insanely meaningful for junglers, that's rare, where they can carry that momentum forward, because you need to be able to drive the game through you. It's like your teammates need to land on your timings and be there for your timings. And thinking back where Showmaker and Canyon peaked together, that was exactly in those environments. It's like the evolution that went from 2019 down one to 2020 down one when they won the World Championship was where the cooperation of Showmaker and Canyon was really like forged into something beautiful, because before that, they were just individually mechanically talented.
Yep.
That G2 famous series that they lost against G2, they were just getting pulled apart because Caps was pushing mid, roaming top, denying Nuguri, and they were just kind of disconnected from each other. So I'm excited for this DPlus kind of renaissance. I do get these vibes from old. My main concern would be like over time, as the teams, like the three kings, so to speak, that they need to beat to make it further into, of course, playoffs if it comes down to, because the form is kind of weird. We're going to have situations where teams are going to maybe be eliminated early. I do think that progression over time is like last year when I think about Barrow, he, in my mind, was the reason why KT couldn't beat T1. It's like his goofiness just went too far. And sometimes in these series as well, when like there's like these moments where you're just getting caught on leads. It's fun until you start losing for it. And and in my mind, I think as precision increases, it's very important that Battle's precision also increases, because I think right now everyone is in a state where you can get away with more, where being bold gives you a lot more. But the progression, if we want to see DPlus be like a contender potentially, which is very difficult considering the rosters, they need to kind of elevate that precision. And I think it, of course, starts and ends with Barrel, but that's a very tough demand to make from Barrel, you know, because he's in the pool of players like Shy. It's like, how do we coach this guy, you know? It's like, this guy is playing some other game now. You're going to tell him off. He's going to run you down to punish you. He's definitely, you know, a man in his own way, it seems.
No, he's one of those players where every team has to be a Beryl team or it's just not going to function. You have to play to his strengths and allow him somewhat to cook and then just work around. Obviously, one of the reasons why I never had any faith in that KT roster team, and I only ever used to basically bet them if they had insane odds, is because you can't have Beryl and Pure Shik at the same time. Like, the fuck? What is that? That would be like making a team with like Hylissang and fucking Malrang. Like, good luck. Like, listen, one thing I'll promise is there's going to be a lot of action, but I don't know if it's going to be good for you. They might just like I have a joke I used to say in Counter-Strike, because in Counter-Strike the economy is obviously the factor that goes against you. I used to say that when people try to like stop them game when they're losing the game, if you do the wrong moves in it, same concept as you bad macro players, you just snowball the game against yourself. You make it harder for yourself. Like, those guys can make you lose in record time. The difference is, actually, it looks like a way better blend in this squad. Because like we're saying, they've got like the younger players, but then they've got the veteran players. I actually think the mix is excellent. By the way, Aiming is a player where if I'm their coach, I just tell him, mate, we're going to play old school ADC. Shut the fuck up, hit minions, and we'll tell you when to move around the map. You just do that. And I know this guy has the skill, mate. I actually do think he's a very underrated skill player. You definitely can carry games. You saw it here. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.